everybody, what is going on? My name is Keegan Gielen. I'm a videographer here based in Austin, Texas, and I am super excited to unbox my newest lens, the Blazar Talon 50mm autofocus 1.5 times anamorphic. If you guys are anything like me, I'm a run and gun videographer. A lot of times I end up in job sites where like I'm a one-man army, gotta work alone, or even if there's people helping you or other people involved, a lot of times there's nobody that's gonna be like pulling focus, anything of that sort. So when you wanna get a little more creative or just make any kind of stylistic choice, it's kind of hard to be able to do that and have to do everything manually. Now, I have only had one anamorphic lens before this one. That is gonna be the Sirui, I think that's how you say it, Sirui 35mm Anamorphic 1.3. This is a manual lens. I'm actually in the midst of selling that right now just because it is APS-C. So there have been APS-C autofocus lenses, but to my knowledge, this is the first and only full frame anamorphic autofocus lens. I'm not as familiar, or never have I used a 1.5 times anamorphic, but fortunately or unfortunately, it is the only full frame anamorphic available currently. Now, by the time I bought my Blazar Talon, the 35mm was available, and usually 35mm is my favorite lens or my go-to. I'm actually shooting this on a 16-35 G Master, but I don't know. I think that I spent a lot of time in my first camera was a Canon Rebel SL2, which is APS-C, and I had a 35 prime on that, which with the crop factor accounted for is just about a 50mm. So I was like, maybe that kind of crop I've been looking for, or the frame I miss so much that I feel like I haven't been getting in my newer cameras, is really because I actually was shooting 50mm and not a true 35 because it was on APS-C with a full frame lens. So maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what I've been searching for. Today we're going to find out. I am so excited to unbox this lens. So here we have the Blazar Talon. First impressions, this box is sick. I really like it. I think it's a cool little stylistic choice. I kind of hate Sony boxes a lot of the time. Like they're just like blank cardboard, and this is actually going to look cool on my shelf. Try to give you a little bit of a close up on that. Now, if we pop this open here, I did already cut this up. Ooh. So the showmanship on these is really sick. I love the way it sits in here. Now, kind of weird, but the new car smell, I don't know, man, it's beautiful. I think it's awesome how this box smells amazing.
What?
Which is so funny. I don't know. I've never really bought camera items before and opened the box and be like, damn, that smells fresh. But yeah, this literally is a new pair of shoes or brand new car. It just looks awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and check this out right here. I think that matte finish is so badass. The gunmetal into the black. You've got that bright orange autofocus line right here. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try and get some sick B-roll shots of this so you guys can get to see some nice close-ups of how that lens look. What I think is really cool about this Blazar autofocus anamorphic is, and I assume this impacts the bokeh on these, and that's why ultimately I think a lot of people favor the bokeh with Blazar lenses, is they actually tuck it back in there a little bit behind the glass. It has this bokeh, this normal ball look that standard lenses would have, compared to, if I can show you real quick, my Sirui anamorphic 1.3 times manual lens. What you'll notice with these is that the glass in them is kind of like most anamorphics. It's flat against that, and that's probably where you lack that bokeh there. Now, the only aspect of this lens that I'm I wouldn't say dreading, I think it's gonna look awesome no matter what, but I do have to agree with my guy Cam Mackey here, who I always love watching his breakdowns and his reviews. I think he's a pretty blunt guy. He's usually pretty straightforward with how he feels about products. Even when he gets sent ones to review or unbox, I think he's pretty transparent. And that's gonna be the fact that they got rid of the blue light flare. It's actually a neutral light flare. I wouldn't call it a white light flare. I think neutral or blank is a better word, just because it's going to flare and adapt whatever light source it hits. Now, the problem with that is if you hit a blue or a headlight of a car or something, right, you still might get that beautiful color that we all know and enjoy. And like Cam Mackey says, some people think that it's too much of a sci-fi look. I beg to differ. But the problem is with leaving that neutral, you can get some really gross baby food or poop looking browns and messy brownish green. It's not a flattering color, and that is the only complaint I've seen about this lens, is that neutral flare just doesn't usually give you the best light source. So we're gonna put that to the test. Go check it out. I'm gonna toss it on the FX30 real quick and go take a look.
but they lead me on, and they don't let me down, but they lead me on, but they lead me on.
Oh, okay. All right, y'all, so actually a short change of plans. Popped the lens onto the FX30. Didn't exactly love the crop. Kind of brings me back to what we were talking about earlier of like, we want that full frame look. I think that 50 full frame on the full frame is exactly what I'm looking for. So I decided to just bite the bullet. I'm like, I'm gonna hook the monitor up to the body. That way I can actually get the D-squeeze. For those of you who don't know, D-squeeze is only available in cinema bodies when it comes to Sony. So you can only actively see the D-squeeze in an FX30, an FX3, I believe an FX6, but the A1 II, I can't actually see the anamorphic D-squeeze in the body. So I had to rig it up, throw the monitor on and run all that out there. And so I decided to just go with that way, because ultimately I bought this for the A1. I want to transition towards more full frame videography. And so I was like, oh, it'll be best to use it on that. Well, I took a step outside, went to go get a couple shots up in my neighborhood. And it turns out there was actually a car show going on tonight. So I thought it was perfect to include a couple frames from that. A couple things I did notice while shooting this footage. There is a little bit of a warp, which I know comes with anamorphics. It's just something that's gonna happen. I didn't really think it was bad at all. I know a couple people have said that this 1.5 times actually runs a little bit closer to a 1.58, and I can kind of see where they'd say that. I have yet to de-squeeze this in my timeline. When I go to do it, I'll know better then. But at 1.5, I can see where there's like maybe a little bit more stretch to give. In terms of the autofocus, I think it's buttery. I think it's smooth. There's a good pace to it. A lot of people might say it's slow. Obviously, it's not as jolty or sharp as my G Masters, but sometimes I don't love that when it comes to shooting video. When you're taking photos, yes, you need that very quick response time. It has helped me out so many times in so many situations. But when it comes to shooting video and you're trying to transition from something in your foreground to something in your background, I think that nice kind of smooth transition that you're gonna see in the frame that I'm showing right here, I think it's perfect. It's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, overall, when we come back to that neutral flare, I actually managed to get some pretty cool shots with the neutral flare. I was able to get a couple shots where the sunlight was reflecting off of the back of the car. I thought the neutral glared just perfectly. It was golden hour here in Austin, Texas, and couldn't be happier with the time of day that this all kind of fell into. So there's a lot of shots where the sunlight is exactly where you need it to be hitting, reflecting off that car, giving us exactly that look we're going for. Now, is a 35mm in the long run going to be something I'm looking to get or add on? I think it's going to be a little while down the road. I'm going to be more than happy with this going into the near future, but there was a couple times where, man, if I could have punched out, I think I maybe would have had a better shot. But ultimately, I think that 50mm is exactly what I personally am looking for. And yeah, just overall, I'm super impressed and super pleased with the end result. I mean, I have used 1.33 times before with that Surui. 1.5, you're going to get a lot thicker black bars, as we can see right here, but I love the look. I love the look. I was sitting there playing back stuff I was shooting while I was at this event, just looking at it like, damn, that is the shot. I love it. It looks so cool. And my favorite shot of the bunch is gonna be this Porsche shot right here. Just looks amazing in front of this van store. You have both logos included. That stretch, because we're using the anamorphic, just kind of adds to the composition of like being able to reach a little bit farther in the frame and pull that Levi logo. I really feel like it completes the image here and like just gives it a lot more depth, makes it look a lot more full. And I think that's something that you'd be lacking in not having this 1.5 times. So for me, that is like why I'm looking to add this in, is because when I've been shooting at like a 3:2 crop ratio over the last year at a very wide lens, personally, that's just not my style and I don't love it. And I think a lot of the times I was probably shooting to crop for vertical, which was kind of killing a lot of the fun for me. So now being able to shoot kind of how I want to shoot, I'm shooting in 8K. I have the 1.5 times anamorphic. I can watch the playback on the monitor. I'm loving it. It looks awesome. And I am so excited to get to use this Blazar Talon and just run it into the ground over the course of the next year. I'm really looking forward to getting to use this more and more often. Will it be rigged up in my room for shots like this? I really doubt it. I know you guys can't see it. I'll throw in a quick little shot of it, but I literally have it on a magic arm with the Sony body, the lens rig, a light, the monitor, so that I can actively see the D-squeeze playback. Can't just flip out the screen. I need to be able to see the D-squeeze. and I have the Digi Mic 3 transmitter just kind of dangling right now. Which brings me to my next item that I'm gonna be adding on tomorrow. It comes in the mail. I'm so stoked to unbox this. I just got a Shinobi 7 RX, which is gonna allow me to do exactly what I'm doing right now, except for I don't have to put my very expensive camera in harm's way on top of this giant rig with a bunch of weight on top of it. I'll be able to hold the monitor like it's a tablet in my hands while I run the transmission back and forth, be able to monitor, control, see the display. I can literally set it like an iPad on my shelf and not have to put my camera at risk sitting up there on top. Will it still have to commit to the transmitter? Yeah, but that's a lot less weight and something that I don't have to stare up and gawk at, and I can kind of move and run on the go. So really excited to unbox that, but I'm loving this lens so far, and I'm really excited to show you guys more and more shots as it goes on. That's all for now. Thanks for checking this out. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks again.